Hey, what's going on YouTube? You guys have tuned into Crypto True Crime, where we tell true crime stories involving Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. If you like true crime and crypto, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell to be notified of future videos. And if you wind up enjoying today's video or any videos, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Really helps get the channel more visibility. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Alexandre Cazes, the founder, moderator, and owner of AlphaBay. AlphaBay, to my knowledge, I believe is the largest darknet marketplace that has ever existed. Silk Road was the first. Agora was another big one that came after that. At the time, Agora was the largest darknet marketplace in existence and of all time. And AlphaBay wound up going on to surpass both Silk Road and Agora. And it seemed like after AlphaBay went down, a lot of people's confidence in darknet markets wound up being shaken. There never really rose to be another huge marketplace. Yeah, you had Wall Street and Dream and a lot of other marketplaces, but everybody always kind of suspected something to be a honeypot. Everybody was always waiting for an exit scam, and it seemed like, well, there were no shortage of darknet marketplaces out there. It seemed like no one marketplace ever rose to prominence or ever rose to the size as some of the previous ones. It was all these smaller marketplaces that would pop up for a few months and then go away, get shut down, get exit scammed. And I think, in doing this true crime, crypto true crime channel, I didn't want to get too much into the darknet marketplace type things because I feel like there's already a ton of content out there involving that. I wanted to kind of stick more to kind of traditional true crime, murders, thefts, getaways, heists, things like that. But I don't think you can cover crypto true crime without talking about guys like Alexandre Cazes and Russ Albright. Now, before we get into today's story, let me just thank the sponsor of today's video. The sponsor of today's video is Voyager Digital. Voyager Digital is one of the largest cryptocurrency trading apps out there. I think it's going to surpass Coinbase in popularity in the near future. They have a very user-friendly interface. Great for newbies and experienced traders alike. They allow you to trade over 60 different currencies, including Shiba Inu and a lot of up-and-coming popular ones that you're not necessarily going to find on Coinbase. You can trade over 60 different cryptocurrencies. On over 30 of these cryptocurrencies, you'll be able to earn interest or earn an APR up to 12% on coins like DOT, 9% on USDC, 5.25% on ADA, and almost 5% on Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Litecoin. And if you use my affiliate link down in the description box below, you'll get $25 in free Bitcoin for signing up. So before we get into this story, I just wanted to talk about one thing that is very interesting to me, and I think I might make a video discussing just this topic on its own because you could do a whole video about it. But it's interesting to me how Russ Albright is viewed versus how Alexandre Cazes is viewed. Overall, I think Russ Albright is viewed very sympathetically, and I think a lot of people look at him like almost kind of a folk hero as a key person in the growth and adoption of Bitcoin. And I think people look at him really sympathetically, whereas Alexandre Cazes, I don't think his reputation or his legacy is quite as nice as that of Russ Albright. Alexandre Cazes, in the story that we're going to be telling you now, we're reading from a darknet1.com article, which is titled Alexandre Cazes of AlphaBay, a computer genius and a dumbass. A lot of people have called him a sexpat or a sex tourist. A lot of people have kind of called him a creep, a braggart, an idiot. Whereas Russ Albright overall is viewed in kind of a good light, in my opinion. When Trump was leaving office, there was a lot of speculation that Trump was going to pardon him. A lot of people are calling for him to be released from prison. A lot of people said he got an unjust sentence. And so I'm not going to go into too many details here, but here's just a couple thoughts on why I think these two gentlemen are viewed so differently. So first, and I think the most obvious, Russ Albright he's American, right? Here in the U.S., here in America, we're very kind of America-centric. We don't necessarily listen to music from other cultures. We don't travel as much as other countries. And I think in other parts of the world, American culture travels over there, right? So people in China, Thailand, the Philippines, South America, wherever else, they listen to American music. They use a lot of American products. And so I think alone, the fact that Russ Albright is is an American and was caught and arrested in America and is still alive and serving time in America today, I think just makes the story more visible. On the other hand, Alexandre Cazes, he's a Canadian citizen, so he's not an American. His story unfolded across the world over in Thailand, and some people argue that he was killed by the Thai police. Others, stick to the official narrative that he hung himself in Thai prison before he could be extradited. But because he's not alive, his story can't really persist. I'm actually kind of surprised that didn't lend more to the allure of his story or conspiracies that he faked his death, paid off the Thai police, and escaped, or why, what really happened to him. So I think that's one of the reasons that Russ Albright is kind of viewed better and kind of more remembered in the crypto space. Another thing, Russ Albright, it seemed like he did it for philosophical reasons. He was a libertarian. He didn't believe that the U.S. government or any government should get in the way of consenting adults, either wanting to take drugs or consenting adults, one person wanting to buy drugs and another person wanting to sell drugs. He didn't think the government should be in the middle of that, and that was why he created the site. I'm sure he enjoyed making money, but he wasn't a flashy guy. He didn't seem to spend a ton of his money on luxury things, and it seemed like philosophical reasons were why he got into this more so than money. If you look at Alexandre Cazes, he had several mansions in Thailand. He had property in, I think, Aruba, Bermuda, Cyprus. He had a lot of assets. You see him here in front of this incredibly expensive Ferrari. I think he owned several Ferraris, several super bikes, a Porsche. He was somewhat of a braggart. There used to be a popular forum called the Roosh V forum. The forum still exists today, but in a much different form than it used to exist. Back in the day, it's kind of hard to label the forum. It was kind of a pickup artist forum, kind of an expat forum, kind of an entrepreneur forum, kind of a self-improvement forum, all rolled into one. And a lot of the guys on there were very braggadocious and had egos. A lot of business owners on there who were expats and lived in, Southeast Asia and cheaper parts of the world while making their money online. And he was part of this community. He was an active poster. I believe his name on that forum was Rawmeo, Rawmeo. And I think in some future videos, we may go through some forum posts where forum members are talking about him and their interactions with him, as well as some of his own posts. And I know he did a couple data sheets on how to move to Thailand, how to learn a new language, how to learn Thai, how to pick up Thai women, etc. And so, a lot of people have called him a sexpat or an incel. He did used to brag on the forum a lot about his lifestyle. There was one period of time where he was talking about a new car he bought, and a lot of forum members didn't believe him. So he actually posted a video of himself driving a car. Now, that leads to another criticism of this guy. A lot of people say he was kind of an idiot. Russ Albright made a mistake. I believe he used a similar forum username in real life and on the normal internet prior to starting Silk Road, and that's ultimately what got him busted. With Alexandre Cazes, he was using web hosting with his real information out of Canada. He used his real personal email address that was on his LinkedIn account on the password reset and introduction emails that went out to new forum members. So he made a bunch of, despite being, by all accounts, a genius. I think his IQ was something like 143. And despite being a computer whiz, he made some very elementary basic mistakes. That's one of the things, when people are running these darknet forums, one thing you have to remember is they only need to make one mistake to get them taken down. And it's not like speeding, where if you're driving in a car and you're speeding and a police officer isn't around, if you don't get caught immediately, you're not going to get caught. Because everything remains on your internet forever, and because everything leaves a paper trail. If you made a mistake 3 years ago and now the FBI or NSA or whomever else is after you, they can find that mistake that you made three years ago and still come after you today. Again, I think some of the hatred towards Alexandre is maybe jealousy, because people are jealous of rich people and people who have nice things. And a lot of people say, why was he so stupid to be so flashy? Why didn't he get out earlier? Big Meech of BMF, a famous drug dealer from Atlanta, probably one of the most flamboyant and flagrant drug dealers of all time. Not necessarily the biggest, but probably one of the most well-known. He had a quote one time. He said, "What's the point of being king if nobody knows you're king?" And I think that might be what Alexander Cazes was dealing with, right? What's the point of having all this power and all this money and all this notoriety if nobody knows it's me that's doing it? And, I think that led him to have the flashy cars, to have the flashy houses, to brag on forums. Well, he could have probably walked away much earlier, had tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, and kind of, rode off into the sunset and enjoyed his riches. But I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Why do you think Russ Albright is looked on so favorably and Alexander Cazes not so favorably? I also find this story fascinating just because he did live such a lavish life. I was surprised how long his run went from. It was from like 2014 to 2017. I'm actually kind of surprised he lasted so long, making so many obvious mistakes. And I think one lesson that we can take away from this is whoever winds up being the big dog winds up with a target on their back. And if the U.S. government or world governments want to come after you, they will find you and they will track you down. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there on darknet marketplaces making a good amount of money, but kind of staying under the radar, keeping things relatively small. And they may go on forever making money and never wind up getting caught. But as soon as you become the big dog, the government has tips and tricks and things that we don't even know about to come after you and to take you down. So I'd love to hear your guys' takes on, kind of the differences between these two guys, why Russ Albright is kind of more famous or looked on more favorably. And I would like to do some future stories on Alexander Cazes, but I don't think his story has been told as much or in as much detail as Russ Albright. So we're going to be taking a look at darknet1.com, an article titled Alexander Cazes of AlphaBay, a computer genius and a dumbass. Alexander Cazes was described by his family as a genius and an extraordinary young man who had no criminal record and never smoked or did drugs. He was originally from Canada, but he later moved to Thailand and owned vacation homes in different countries. During his teenage years, he started his first company called EBX Technologies, where he sold computers and aided small businesses with setting up their websites. As most of you probably already know, he is known for creating and running the AlphaBay market, the largest darknet market in history. AlphaBay was a unique market in many ways. Launched in 2014, the site saw quick and steady growth. About 1 year after it was founded, a digital contract system was introduced where users could initiate contracts for $5. This digital contract system would allow any type of deal to be linked to a user's reputation and allowed users to put almost anything they wanted into the contract. If one party violated the contract, they could raise a dispute with the market staff. Users who were found to have violated the contract would have it mentioned on their profile page as a warning to other users, and users who continually violated their contract would be banned. AlphaBay was notable for being a darknet market that accepted payments in several different cryptocurrencies, so that's something that's different. Previously, most marketplaces had been in Bitcoin, but AlphaBay was one of the earlier ones, if not the first one, to allow other cryptocurrencies on their platform, including anonymous cryptocurrencies. In 2016, after announcing their support for Monero, the price of Monero increased by over 600%. On March, and I think that kind of goes to show how prevalent these marketplaces were, how big a part of the cryptocurrency space that they were. It's one thing if Amazon announces that they're accepting cryptocurrency, or, just a few weeks back, Walmart announced that they were accepting Litecoin. It actually turned out to be a fake announcement, but, it only surged by about 40%. So AlphaBay announcing that they were accepting Monero caused Monero to shoot up 600%. Obviously, the crypto space was less developed and less mainstream back then, but that's pretty amazing, and it shows how much power this marketplace had. On March 18th of 2017, AlphaBay announced their support for Ethereum, and after it was reported by the news, the price of Ethereum went up over 300% from about $12 to over $50. An administrator, presumably Alexandre, stated the following in a post on Reddit. "You can see AlphaBay like a bank. While we allow people to deposit and withdraw at will, drugs are merely a product to attract customers. The cold wallet coins aren't just standing there. We invest in various things anonymously, make money with those investments, while always ensuring to run at 100% reserve. We don't go into details, but there are thousands of ways to make money by investing in Bitcoin online." Some research believed that AlphaBay staff were hoarding Monero and Ethereum and intentionally manipulating the price of those coins with the announcements of their integration into the market. According to American prosecutors, Alexandre was using EBX Technologies as a cover business to justify his banking activity and substantial cryptocurrency holdings. Alexandre Cazes made many millions from his drug market, and he lived quite a luxurious lifestyle for a while. He owned 4 properties in Thailand, drove a $1 million Lamborghini, owned properties in Cyprus and Antigua, and his net worth in total exceeded $23 million. He also had a villa in Thailand and bank accounts in multiple different countries, but he only got to enjoy that lifestyle for so long until his arrest, which happened because his OPSEC, or operational security, was very, very, very poor. He was indicted by a grand jury on June 1st of 2017 and later arrested in Thailand on July 5th of 2017. His first major mistake was using his personal email address, which was pimp_alex_91@hotmail.com, as the from email for user password resets on AlphaBay, and appeared in a welcome email header sent to users in 2014. So when you signed up for the forum, or when you signed up for the site, you would get a welcome email, and if you ever forgot and had to reset your password, you would get a password reset email, and those emails featured his real email address. So it's kind of amazing that this market wound up going on for 3 years, if not longer. The email address was also linked to his LinkedIn account, as well as his legitimate computer repair business. This made it really easy for law enforcement to find out who was behind AlphaBay. The AlphaBay servers were hosted at a company in Canada and were directly linked to his identity, another nail in his legal coffin. He used to frequently boast about his financial success, mainly on a forum called Roosh V, and he even posted a video of himself driving luxury cars after users did not believe he bought the car. All of that was just plain dumb. Being rich and boasting about it to random people is never a good idea, even if you made the money legally, because nothing good can come from it, and you're painting a target on your back, as you'll eventually find yourself on the radar of thieves and malicious people if you keep doing it. In his case, it allowed for law enforcement to find his geographical location and made his association with AlphaBay undeniable. And like I said, in some future videos, we will get into some of his posting history from the Roosh V forum. You can check out Roosh V forum today if you want. You'll probably wind up wanting to use the Wayback Explorer, because in recent years, Roosh V, who was kind of a controversial figure and kind of a former very chauvinistic, very kind of like red pill, kind of guy. He apparently found religion and now doesn't allow any of that talk on the forum, and kind of the nature of the forum has changed a lot. So what the forum looks like today is very different than what it looked like back in, say, 2014. After law enforcement raided his residence in Thailand, they found his computer open, fully encrypted, and logged into both his administrative accounts for the AlphaBay market and the AlphaBay forum. They also discovered that he made a list of all of his assets, where they were located around the world, which made it tremendously easy for officials to seize all of his assets. Now, I'm not sure how much truth there is to this story, but another version of this story is that they figured out where his servers were. They flashed his servers, which made him kind of go online to bring the site back up and log into all of his accounts. And it was at that time that the Thai police, working with, I think it was 6 different countries and like 13 different agencies, basically staged an accident where they crashed into his front gate. He wound up running outside to see what the deal was, who had crashed into his front gate, what was going on after he heard this loud noise. And that's how they were able to access his computer while it was still open. At least that's the story that we've gotten. He also used a username on AlphaBay that he had previously used on tech forums since at least 2008. Another newbie mistake. And that was actually the same mistake that brought down Russ Albright. And a lot of people say, oh, he's stupid. How dumb can you be? But I want you guys to think about something, right? Like, we're all creatures of habit. And even if you're trying to be different than you normally are, it's tough to do that. Just as a challenge, take out a piece of paper and try to write in a different handwriting than your own handwriting. No matter how hard you try, there's going to be some characteristics that are like your own writing. And even, think about if you were to create a new YouTube channel, a new email account, anything, when you go to start creating a username or a password, it's going to be hard to come up with something that isn't connected to ourselves, because we look to ourselves and things about our life to come up with passwords or come up with usernames. This is kind of dumb, these guys rehashing the same usernames, but even if they came up with a different username than they had ever used online, it's very tough to come up with a username that doesn't give away something about you. It's clear that Alexandre Cazes made many fundamental OPSEC mistakes, some of which are very similar to those made by the Silk Road founder Russ Albright. AlphaBay was not the first darknet market to implement alternative cryptocurrency payments, but it really helped pave the way for future markets to do the same. The takedown of the site was the beginning of the end of the golden age of darknet markets. Alexandre Cazes had a strong love for both women and money. On the Roosh V forum, he posted advice on picking up Thai women, bragged about getting a solid prenup, and slept with many women outside of his marriage. Joe Laserte, a friend of Alexandre, said during a live interview with Radio Canada, he was always an extremely brilliant guy. I don't know, the fact that he was a guy who really liked money, that made me feel like he was going to do some scam at some point. Sunisa Swapshikhan Cazes shows off one of the properties owned by her and Canadian husband, darknet marketplace AlphaBay founder Alexandre Cazes. So he had a Thai wife. You can find pictures online of her showcasing some of their different properties. I think there might be something to what Joe Laserte was saying. If Alexandre was never arrested and AlphaBay was never seized, I think the most likely eventual demise of AlphaBay would have been an exit scam. I could be wrong, but he really did like money, and he even mentioned that drugs were just a product to attract customers, and he did not seem like a person to have a strong moral fiber. He even cheated on his own wife, so if he ever got tired of running the market, or if the market had enough money in escrow, both, it seems to me, that he would likely do it would have been exit scammed eventually. Do you really think that if he wanted to stop running AlphaBay and shut it down, he would have disabled deposits and allowed users to withdraw the millions of dollars worth of crypto on his site? And I think maybe that gives some insights into why Russ Albright and Alexandre Cazes are looked at differently. Russ Albright didn't really seem to be about the money. He seemed to be about the libertarian ideologies that caused him to start the site, whereas Alexandre Cazes seemed to have started it kind of all about money. And whether you agree with what Russ Albright did or not, or whether you think it was right or wrong, I think you have to respect somebody who kind of has convictions, has a strong moral fiber, and stands up for what they believe in, versus somebody who will just do whatever for money. There's not a lot of information out there available about Alexandre Cazes on the web. He died in a prison a week after his arrest from what law enforcement claims was a suicide, so we never got to collect more information about him from what would have been his trial in court since he is dead. He cannot provide any info about himself. Supposedly, he never used drugs before. Maybe that could have been a factor as to why he made such fundamental OPSEC mistakes. Using certain drugs can make people experience real paranoia, and people who experience paranoia are far more prone to taking their OPSEC a lot more seriously. I'm sure some of you have probably ordered drugs on the darknet and later got really stoned and saw a cop car parked in your neighborhood near your house and experienced a heart-pounding paranoia while thinking that the cops knew you bought drugs online and they were coming for you, but you later realized they were doing something with your neighbors and their presence had nothing to do with you, but the situation made you want to take your OPSEC more seriously because you didn't want the next time to be the real deal. If you have ever been in a situation like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It might not be a good idea to run a drug marketplace when you have never done drugs before. You cannot relate to most of your site's users and have no experience using drugs means that you can give drug-related advice that you personally know for a fact, and you cannot personally verify drug-related advice given by users to other users on your platform. Someone could say a deadly combo is beneficial for your health, and you usually would not know if it is without asking somebody else with experience or researching the web. Final thoughts, AlphaBay was the biggest darknet market. Other markets are now fighting for the first place, and a lot of other markets even copied the design of AlphaBay, such as World Market. Alexandre Cazes was a computer genius with a lot of potential. He knew coding, web security, web development, Photoshop, you name it, he could probably do it. He could have made a lot of money from making IT-related tutorials. He could have gotten many high-paying jobs. He could have made a cryptocurrency where there were so many ways he could have gotten rich from his IT expertise, but he chose to create and operate a drug marketplace, which ended up being a terrible idea, especially having been by a non-drug user. So that's all we got for you guys today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or additional details to share, go ahead and drop them in the comments section below. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell as well. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Crypto True Crime signing out.